The storytelling. Let's tell a different story. I don't like Pac. I don't like Tupac. Let's tell that story.
Yeah.
Tupac isn't that hard. Let's tell that story. There's a bunch of differing opinions that we could tell. And it is beautiful because we can get this right here and set up and be like, let's talk about it. What's up?
Now visualize the whole pie. We done had some lows, so damn low, but we still alive.
Welcome to Tone Deaf, a conversation podcast. And today I have with me a guy I've known since the 5th grade, about 10 years old.
Yeah.
At Rupa Vista Elementary School.
Road runners.
In Fontana, California. Shout out to Southridge.
Yes, forever.
My man, Byron Young.
What's up, man?
Just trying to do this, trying to get this content out.
Yes.
We have what we think is going to be an interesting episode.
Definitely.
There's a lot about us that's different. Especially when you think about like the group of people that we were when we were growing up. But like if there were like 3 common denominators, it was sports, it was music, and it was video games. And those were the things that pretty much all of us, if what is it, is it Venn diagram?
Yeah, we also it was
the
all,
circle. That's the thing that's in the middle.
Yeah.
And there were some things with
that were outside.
All of them were outside.
Yeah.
With me and him particularly, we all had we both had I would call it a borderline obsession.
Yeah, affinity.
A great love
Yes.
for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And you see we have it represented here with the Carlton Bank. Shout out to Carlton.
Bel-Air Academy.
Yo, I appreciate you shooting your shot, bro. You could have, you should have gave the ball. You should have passed the ball to Will.
Off, yeah.
Like Coach Smiley said, you should have just passed it to Will.
Yeah.
But we want to talk about a little bit about Fresh Prince. Also, we want to talk about the state of Black TV. I know I've been talking, or I'm probably going to talk more about film, but I'm going to throw TV in there occasionally and talking about where Black TV has evolved from TV shows in the 70s to the 80s, but to specifically what I consider the golden era of TV shows, of Black TV shows, which is the 90s, when you had Living Single, you had Fresh Prince, you had Martin, you had Jamie Foxx show, were the Wayans brothers in the 90s. Wayans brothers were in the 90s. You had Family Matters was in the 90s. The Cosby Show tipped into the 90s, I believe.
It was late 80s, early 90s.
But then you had A Different World that spilled into the 90s. So you had all these different shows that seemed to point at what we knew were the normal average Black experience, but where maybe America was getting introduced to a different element of Black people, where some of these people were wealthy. They were business owners, they were professionals.
Definitely.
They were students. They were people who were either accomplished or on their way to become accomplished.
Definitely. It's not the normal
at not just being a basketball player or a dope boy or struggling
criminals or poor.
Again, and
the tropes, not the average tropes of early 90s cinema, where it was hood movies. A lot of that was happening then. And then right after that, you get that golden age of television, where it's totally just juxtaposed to what white people would think.
Yeah. I think the 90s in general, just for TV sitcoms in general, was golden. Just like a goat. Maybe it could be this is also might be nostalgia talking, but because then you even think about like as a kid, a lot of my favorite cartoons were from the 90s. Even the non-Black TV shows, a lot of my favorites came from those times. To me, that was just, and I'm still gonna count it because both Hey Arnold and Doug
had Black characters,
and SpongeBob all started in the 90s. You had Recess was from the 90s,
and Black characters in all of them. And
Skeeter was Black. Shout out to
Gerald.
Gerald Johansson. That's the coolest guy on that show.
Definitely.
But you had as kids, the Rocko's Modern Life. Yeah. But then you even
Rocket
had
Power.
You had Rocket Power, but then you had Keenan and Kel. You had all that, and you had everything in Nickelodeon.
My Brother and Me, Cousin Skeeter.
To me, that was just a great time in TV.
Yes, definitely.
Where it was a great time in TV, and I think now
all across the board,
we've kind of gotten away from that, where the typical sitcom as it is no longer. Mm. Like I don't think you have live studio audiences anymore. You don't have laugh tracks anymore. You don't have. Now they just shoot a TV show, even if it's a comedy like Modern Family.
There's one camera.
They're shooting it and then
documentary style. Or they do documentary style, yeah.
Instead of, hey, we're shooting this in front of a live audience, so the laughter you hear is actually people responding to this.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna get into that where TV's gone, how it's changed, but specifically, we're gonna dig into some Fresh Prince episodes, some of our favorites.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're gonna make this a reoccurring thing.
Definitely,
where we come and kind of talk about different tropes because I think both of us think that this is the best black TV show that there is,
hands down.
And I think if we're just talking about TV shows in general,
it's up there also.
It's up there, and I just think because of the way that they tackled certain issues, it was
that are still prevalent.
There's a lot of nuance to it that I didn't see when I was in junior high or high school watching it.
Yeah.
And now looking back, seeing kind of the genius in how great that show was. So
definitely.
We definitely want to get into that. Just real quick, tell us a little bit about your first experiences, if you can remember them, of Fresh Prince and why initially you fell in love with that show.
My first experience with Fresh Prince. Okay, I remember it more. Obviously, reruns. Mm-hmm. I was like 8 when it ended.
Yeah, it was like 96.
96, yeah. So of course I remember watching it because my house, my mom was a big Channel 4 watcher, so it was always on NBC. My TV was always on NBC. We didn't back when I was that young, we didn't have cable.
Yeah.
So it was always on NBC, just Channel 4 always. I remember the colors of the show. It was such a bright show. I remember that.
Especially the first season, because you had the colors that Will wore, and Will was always wearing the 80s. He was bringing 80s vibes.
Yes, I remember the fashion. That's the first experience I remember with Fresh Prince.
I think we're gonna have to dedicate a show to just the fashion.
Just the Jordan. We could do just the Jordans if we want. We could
because you gotta look at Will's fashion. You look at Hillary's fashion.
Carlton's
you look at Carlton's fashion, and all of their fashions to some extent have survived,
and they're still come back somehow. Yeah. In some way, you know what I mean. The Jordan 5 is still a very cool Jordan that people wear.
I have outfits in my closet where I could dress just like Will.
Yeah, today.
And go to the mall and dress like Will.
Yeah.
And then later on I can go to an evening party and I could dress just like Carlton.
Yes, definitely. So I think that was my first remembrance of it. It's just that it was so bright. Everything was just so bright and big. And the first 2 seasons they're shot differently. Remember, it's that first season that had the brown living room.
It was a different house.
Yes. So the second season, or the third and fourth season, is where I really remember the big white kitchen.
Yeah.
The big white living room.
A little bit more open.
Yes, the open format thing. So I would think my first just remembrance of the show is probably talking about it with you. Just talking about it probably 4 years after.
I don't remember how it happened. I just think maybe one of us had mentioned it and then the other one of us knew about it.
Exactly.
And it's just
lines and everything. And of course at that time we've probably seen every episode multiple times.
Yeah.
So it just became that. And Antonio just became, we just would talk about it. It would come on in the morning. So I think we would watch it before we went to school. And then, of course, it came on Nick at Night, and we would watch it watch
it that night.
The night, yeah. And then, of course, we would just talk about it and be like, "Oh, Antonio, guess what episode was on last night?"
Especially if it was one of the best.
One of the
and
good ones.
That's another thing. There's a whole lot of episodes we could do here.
Yes.
We could even talk about like the top episodes.
Exactly.
There are some.
Talk about
There
Mark
are some
Stokes.
truly.
Talk about my guy.
Yo, I tried to find a Marcus Stokes jersey. I couldn't find one.
I need the Malibu.
I couldn't
the
find
Malibu.
one.
Nah, but
and we can also talk about some of the stuff that I don't like. Like they both couldn't have got signed.
Yeah,
why was Will acting like only like the scout was only like no, we don't want two great athletes. Like, no, you guys are both great. Why?
Yeah, y'all both coming to school. Yeah, no, I get it. But I guess that was like I guess they shoved so much. You had to shove so much in TV back then.
Yeah. Because
Like,
only had a 30 minute spot.
So like,
another thing, like 20 minutes.
Another thing that you probably don't like and I didn't like, but at the graduation episode, Will graduates, they call Will Smith, and there's a bunch of people behind Will Smith.
Yeah.
So at the end, when Will Smith gets called, he jumps
Oh, yeah,
up and then everybody throws their hats up. I'm like, hey, can everybody graduate first? So it's like little stuff like that. But of course, that's just little picky stuff. But yeah, it's always funny. It's always funny. It's just funny stuff like that. But yeah, I think it was talking with you, and then me and you going throughout high school together. It just became like our thing. Like it was always on. It's still always on. I bought the DVD box set when it dropped, but then there was this gap where people aren't watching normal TV.
Yeah.
So it wasn't on anything. It wasn't on streaming. It wasn't on anything. And then HBO Max.
Yep.
Comes
and that's
out.
Probably the first thing I watched on HBO Max.
Oh, that's all I watch on HBO Max because the app is so bad. Like it's just functionally bad.
Yeah.
That's really all I can just get to. It's just what I go to and watch. But yeah, I think the first not memory, but my first like where I talked about it was, I mean, of course I watched it with my dad. I watched all the episodes with my parents, but talking about it with you just in like late elementary school, 6th grade, we're probably like 12. So it's probably like 2000. It's probably like 4 years after it's done.
Yeah.
And it's just in syndication and rerun, so we just watch it, and it just becomes our thing. And I think we both, from talking to each other, wanted to go home, watch Fresh Prince, so we could talk about it the next day with each other. So I think
you had to have the lines, or you had to remember the funny part.
Exactly,
so
exactly.
Quote it perfect, and
so.
I just think it was great because, I mean, there's so many different layers to the show, but one that we're going to talk about today is kind of like the juxtaposition between Will and Carlton and who they were as black males and how they were two different ends of the spectrum, and that pretty much the whole show is the two of them because they're the closest two in the show, and
finding out
they're the ones basically who's Will Smith who's from the suburbs, the streets of Philadelphia, and then you have Carlton who's from the hills of California. So you have two different black kids with two different black experiences. And they are trying to get to know each other. And like, two rivers, when they first meet, there's a whole bunch of rapids, which made for great comedy, but I think also made for some really deep moments that have lasted, and I think to this day still hit in a way.
Always.
So in this episode and probably in some ones to follow, I think we're going to try and
I definitely want to come back. I don't think we're gonna hit all of them today, but I definitely want to come back and talk about the ones.
Yeah, because there's only 6. I mean, I say only, but I mean
that's a long run back then.
For sitcoms, 6 seasons is a good run, and you're talking about 20 or so episodes a season. That's a pretty good run. And I think Will was getting to the point where he was outgrown. He was getting,
my man was doing Independence.
He was too big at that point because I think he did Bad Boy 1 and Independence Day during that, and you can even see. And I think the first Men in Black was like towards the end.
Yes, he was filming it,
and at that point he's becoming a big superstar. And I think it was just getting to the point where they had to go.
Yep.
They had to go somewhere else with it. But yeah, so that's where we're gonna go.
I think I'm with it. The black experience has changed very much, so I think that's why we're seeing a renaissance, if you will, a renaissance in film. Like you said, I wouldn't say in TV,
Yeah, I think it's
we're
transitioned more to the more cinematic side of things.
But yeah, sitcoms. I like Blackish. I love Blackish. Like I said, I relate to it, but I don't think I would put that up there with those shows.
I don't think we'll ever see that again.
That show again. Yeah.
Like I just think they were just like heavy hitter after heavy hitter after heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And they all in their own way touched on some element of the culture, which I appreciate in each of those shows. You know, and that's another cool thing is that, like, even though we pit them against each other, like those shows don't step on each other's toes.
No.
Because if you even look at the like Fresh Prince is pretty much about some kids.
Yeah.
And then
it's like teenage it's more coming of age.
And then like Martin and
Jamie Foxx.
Are more about like some bachelors, adults trying to deal with that,
like a boomerang show.
So they're different elements of the Black experience.
Yeah,
and I always appreciate what those were. But specifically, we want to dive into Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and since this is a film TV podcast, I guess I want to get into what some of the themes and motifs are that I think I didn't pay attention to
then
when I was a kid that I recognize a whole lot more now.
Yeah.
And so last night I was watching just from the first episode, and I just had it playing. And one of the first episodes that stuck out to me was the episode when Will and Carlton get arrested.
And they get pulled over.
So to me, we talked about like what the overarching theme of Will and Carlton is, that you kind of have these. They both represent two almost total polar opposites of
blackness.
Of blackness, and both of them kind of have a disdain in a way. I mean, they still have a familial relationship.
Yeah, they're blood,
it's not
but
there.
yeah.
But there is a disdain for, I don't want to be like that. Like what I am now, I like that, and I don't want to be like that. But what ends up happening is that both of them end up seeping into the other.
You find out,
and they almost
we're
flip.
all the same.
They almost flip
exactly.
in some sense, and they kind of meet. Yeah. They kind of meet in this middle where
they keep
still
clashing.
Unique. Yeah, and there's still elements of their own individuality that they keep, but then there are lessons that they both learn from each other. But in that episode, it was one of the first episodes where we really see Will and his environment get thrown into, or Carlton basically experiences something that Will is used to experiencing in his environment.
100%.
And for people who don't know the episode, I forget the name of the episode.
I think it's called
like courting. No,
I'm blanking on the
I
name.
I forget that, but it's one of the first episodes of season one.
It's like episode 4. Yeah. Honestly, they got straight to it.
So
they got straight to it.
Yeah. So it's fast. They don't like. Yeah. Matter of fact,
even the first episode they get straight to it.
The first season is like really heavy with a lot of that
super.
Stuff.
With the isn't that the first season where she finds out like with the girl from Jasmine Guy, isn't that in the first episode?
One or two, first or second season, yeah.
So it's a lot of heavy. Even in the first episode, at the end, where he's like, "Yo, you need to." Uncle Phil tells Will, he's like, you're smarter than you let on.
Yeah, and it ends with him
playing the
I think Moonlight Sonata or something.
I think it's For Elise or something like that.
And he's playing that, and that was kind of because the thing about this whole show is that there's a lot of people not judging the exterior, and so I think Will has his judgments of the family, and the family have their judgments of Will, and to varying degrees. But I think Uncle Phil at the end of that episode sees him get on the piano and play, and I think that's his first time saying that, wow, there's something there.
He's gonna be all right.
That I didn't see because I judged him based off of the outward experience, and that to me is the whole.
It's the whole thing of the show. They say it's a beautiful show, man. Fuck Martin. Yo, every time. That's what I mean, bro. Like, first episode, they set it up so crazy. They set it up so crazy for the rest of the whole series. That ending scene is the whole series.
That's the whole series.
And it's beautiful.
It's him. It's the start of
it's Uncle
them
Phil
accepting each other.
It's Uncle Phil saying, yo, you need to get it together. And then him seeing Will and being like, all right, he's going to get it together. At the end of the show,
he got it together.
You got it together, man.
Because what happens a lot of times
Sundays
is we even see Uncle Phil deal with that in because he also has some episodes where he reflects back to where he was and then sees how where success kind of caused him to lose touch of some of that stuff. So, but I mean, the funny thing is what that family is doing to a more dramatic extent is they are doing what a lot of black families do. A lot of our generations are doing, because like our grandparents, they worked hard, they worked at a factory or whatever.
They couldn't get us out of that
thing. And they really couldn't get you there. So our parents grew up in that real tight, hard, but it was kind of like you didn't really know it was that hard because you guys were all in the family, so it was there.
It was just life.
And then now we're going to a point where
they ran straight to the suburbs with us.
And then now, so we, because of them, and it's a testament to them, is that now we're finding ourselves in the situation where we are better off, and now we're stuck. I know I'm stuck because I have 2 kids, and the question is, do I get them everything that I would have wanted when I was their age, or is it worth them hearing no's like I heard no's in order to harden them? And it's like, I know Uncle Phil had to deal with that. Yeah. I had to grow up in Alabama with nothing, and we grew up on a poor farm, and now I'm a lawyer. Do I give my kids? Do I make my kids have to experience what I experienced, or do we just jump straight here and I give them all the luxuries I have? And what's that balance so that they don't become so spoiled? Yeah. But that they still understand who they are and what that But
no, for sure. I think like you said, we well, probably not us, but to an extent, we are, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, we are Carlton. So where we're like,
I think,
but
I think we're both. I think
the reason we're not is because my dad was a cop.
Yeah,
my dad told me first time I drove, he said, "Get in the car, throw your hat in the back seat. Don't ever drive with a hat on. Just don't drive with a hat on." And I was like, oh, what? And he said, guess what? What else you're not going to do? Not going to have all your windows down. Guess what else you're not going to do? You're not going to turn your music up all the way.
And it's crazy.
And I know your pops had the same conversations with you.
It was a little bit different, but basically it was a whole bunch of, it wasn't, wow, the police are fantastic people, they're out here protecting. It was all about, listen, make sure you do this so that you come home.
My dad said.
So then we grow up already thinking like, I'm not good,
And I already knew this because my dad told me, them cops ain't good. Those cops aren't good. My dad was a cop and he was telling me, those cops aren't good. And if a black cop pulls you over, you might think, oh, great. But guess what he's going to do? He's going to show his white cop, he's going to show his white partner that he's not going to show you any special treatment. And my dad said, do you know what my dad said? A cop, like it's a thing from Transformers. What's his name? He says it. He says, guess what this is? This is do whatever I want to get away with it badge. Mm-hmm. That's what my dad said cops are.
So I think my dad was coming more from because my dad wasn't a cop. But
yeah,
he had his run-ins.
So of course, we all did. They all did. Yeah.
So I think from him it was more of I didn't detect it at first, but I think it was a fear.
Of course.
And it was like, so you have in this episode where they live in Bel Air, mm-hmm. where police presence is lower, mm-hmm. so you don't have that many encounters with the police. You live in a wealthier neighborhood, so
next to the Reagans.
There's less they're next to the Reagans, yeah. So less encounters with other people, so mm-hmm. therefore most likely less times that you're ever even going to see the police. Yeah. So the only time you probably do see them is when they're at the grocery store or helping the old lady cross the street.
Or if you do see the police, they know who you are.
most
in
likely.
your neighborhood.
Yeah. So Carlton hasn't had to experience any of that, and then he's, his dad's is a lawyer. He even says in there that he's pre-law, and then so what you have is that it's again, and it's interesting because they mask it all with humor.
Yeah.
Is you have when they get pulled over, and then you have Will basically tell Carlton exactly what's going to happen before it happens.
And Carlton be like, man. Yeah. Well, you tell him, he says,
so first he
keep
was
your
like,
hands on the wheel.
First, keep your hands on the wheel. And the first thing Carlton does is takes his hands on the wheel. And the cop says, keep your hands on the wheel. And he was like, keep your answers short and sweet. He was like, where are you from? Los Angeles. And he was like, actually. And he's goes,
from Bel Air. Yeah.
And then so just the more Carlton talks, he actually makes himself look. Yeah. He's telling the truth, which is the thing about that episode is that he's telling the truth. Yeah. But Will is saying, they're not going to believe. They don't care. They're not going to believe your truth.
Exactly.
Because they don't believe that a bunch of two black kids from Bel Air driving a Benz to
Palm Springs.
Yeah. So that's the episode. So I didn't say what was happening. So basically, Mr. Firth's wife,
Firth Winnemeyer.
So Firth Winnemeyer. So she gets her helicopter's license.
So
she's gonna fly from Bel Air to, there. They wanted to go, but it was a kids only. So Will comes up with the idea, hey, how about you have somebody drive your car down there? That's Will's way of thinking.
I can get there.
Yeah. So he says, wow, that's a great idea, but he suggests Carlton do it. Carlton says, sure. Will sneaks in the car with Carlton. So we have Will and Carlton in a Benz
on a road trip
on the way to
Palm Springs
when they get pulled over in Palm Springs,
which is one of the whitest cities.
And I didn't know that at first, but they actually got pulled over. They got pulled over in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
So
in a neighborhood. Yeah.
So apparently there had been a ring of car thefts, and then they get pulled over, and they end up going to jail. And even in the episode, Will calls home, and Jeffrey's he has a day off.
He has a day off, so he's not trying to hear it.
So he doesn't try to hear it. So he was like, yo, my butler hung up. So it's funny because it's all this stuff where it's like
humor where it's like they don't care.
They're not gonna believe that these two black kids talking about their butler's not answering the phone, and that their dad is at a retreat with his law firm, and it's like, right
around the corner, yeah.
But they have this heart to heart at the end where Carlton still just thinks
is defending the police
that they were doing their job.
We see that a lot today,
and they were. Carlton says, "Hey, we were driving slow. That must be the reason." And Will is saying no because we were black in a black in a nice strange neighborhood in a nice car. So of course they thought we must not be there.
He said, "Oh, I thought we were breaking." He said, "I thought it was all driving while black law, but no,
slow listening,
it's slow law."
And then he asked his dad. He was like, if you saw a car driving slow in a neighborhood, wouldn't you stop it? And then this is when you have Uncle Phil who's
back.
Coming from that. He was like, I asked myself that question the first time I was stopped. So
and it ends just poetically. It's a beautiful show.
And then
Stop talking about Martin to me.
And then Carlton was like, I would stop it. But that was his first
run-in with it.
Run-in where potentially who he was trumped the money that his dad made.
It don't matter.
That's the point when it didn't matter because what he thought was going to get him out of getting arrested didn't get him out of getting arrested.
All that mattered was he was a black kid.
So yeah, I mean, I think that show touched on a lot like that.
Yeah, it has way more episodes like that too. I think that's gonna be. I mean, I don't mean to invite myself back, but I think I want to come back and keep doing these episodes like this to just revert, to not revert, but just talk about how they relate to today. Still,
I want to do one more.
Perfect,
because it's almost a flip of this, and it's funny because I didn't know it at the time because I wasn't familiar with what fraternities and sororities were.
I watched that one today.
So there's the episode. This is later on in the season. This is later on. This is
like season 4.
Season 4 or 5. They're in college now at ULA.
Yeah, shout out to ULA. The Peacocks.
Which is the Peacocks.
We're running down the field, Peacocks.
And then they have what I guess would be called their rush week.
Yeah.
So you have all these fraternities out, and then you see the black fraternity, and they
come stepping through.
They come through because first you have all these white fraternities, and it's like Carlton wants to go
he's
there.
Hype, yeah. See, but
those
wearing, were more
they're
like
all wearing what did they have, alligators on their shirt?
They were
whatever.
more like they were showing like that like well in like Ivy League there's fraternities, but they also have like finals clubs.
Yeah, there's different type of clubs.
I think they were like showing that. That wasn't necessarily like the fraternity like Carlton was hype about with the white kids. Yeah,
what were they? Phi Beta Gamma.
Yeah, Phi Beta Gamma.
Yeah. And I don't know if they were trying to be like a play on alphas.
Yeah,
they were like black
yeah.
and gold. Yeah, they were black and gold. So, Will and Carlton, they pledge. They pledge. I mean,
Yeah, they do the rush. They rush.
It was a pledging that
do,
you can show on a syndicated TV show.
Yeah, it was
just
it was
light stuff. Nobody's getting paddled or anything.
Yeah.
People are scrubbing the floor and they have to eat But then you can see what's happening is
they're treating
Carlton different.
Mm-hmm.
And Carlton,
black people are treating
Carlton different, and they're making Carlton have to go through a little bit more than the other recruits.
And it's something.
But Carlton does it all. Yeah. He does everything that they ask him to do. Yeah. He knocks it out because he wants to be a part of it. Yeah. And then it comes to the point where I think they have the party at the end. He's like, signify that they're done. And then he goes to Will and says he's in. And then he's like, wow, Carlton, I made it. And he was like, you made it. But not that guy. And then that's when we got into the
black
idea
people treating you worse
of blackness.
Yeah. And which has happened to
but again,
both of
like
us.
we said, that's a juxtaposition to the whole show.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be black?
Yeah.
And where a lot of people thought Will was the normal black guy, instead of seeing that a lot of people are like Carlton.
Yeah.
And more of them are like a mix of the two. Exactly. They're like in between.
That's probably our story.
Like I'm a mix of Carlton and Will.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm not all Carlton, but I'm not all Will.
No.
I'm a mix between the two, and I know way more people that are a mix between the two than of one that's just
because I know coming from where we come from, we've gotten that from black people. Just like, oh, you do this, like this was your experience. So, oh man, you not.
I know a lot of black people
that told me that.
I know a lot of black people who they're like ex-athletes, so they played. I know a guy, rapper, ex-ball player, a little rough around the edges, so checks all the boxes that if you were to just judge him, check, yeah, he's got his Jordans on, check, oh, he's that, but then he watches anime.
Yeah.
Or, he's into classical art.
He listens to this. That was always that's what people always made fun of me for. Was, oh, you listen to this? You listen to white boy music? Or you watch that? Like,
and that's the funny thing. It's like, because you don't,
it was a lot of that for me personally. That was my experience with black people.
I tell people this, and he can attest. I think if it wasn't for sports, and if it wasn't for having known the popular people in school, I probably would have been with the geeks.
Yeah, Antonio was how do I put it? Like, he was very conservative. Like, he was super conservative, like he was like young Republican, like, I'm not cussing. I'm waiting till marriage.
I didn't curse until I met them.
Like, it was kind of all that. Like, I thought, because at first it was okay. So the reason why when you came, I became a little cooler was because the people that it was DQ, Derek, and it was Sean. They lived in a different part of Southridge that was way blacker than the part of Southridge that I lived in.
Yeah.
That we lived in. So they had Jody over there. They had Keith. They had Maurice. They had a lot of
Hey, shout out to Jody, man.
They had a lot of rougher kids.
Yeah.
So when
the closer, basically, so for anybody that doesn't know,
newer homes,
Kaiser High School and Bloomington High School are like a mile apart.
Yeah, in the middle,
if that.
And there's a a housing. There's what is it called? A track of homes in the middle of it.
Yeah, but I guess you can call it that.
Yeah.
And so basically,
a development.
Even though they wouldn't admit to it, the closer you got to Kaiser, the closer you went a little bit up with the. And it might seem like crazy to think that just that small little block was like that. But then the closer you got to Bloomington, the more dirt roads you saw instead of paved roads, the smaller houses instead of the bigger houses. So, if you're closer to one way, then it got a little bit grimier.
And there was a little grimier kids. And then what's crazy is after Antonio left, I stayed there a little longer. And it flipped. It really did flip. Yeah. Like where we lived, like by Village Park became just like it was just black people everywhere. But so back to what I was talking about. The reason why I became a little cooler when you got there, it was because they looked at me how I looked at you, like, oh man, this kid is a little square. Like he's not square, but like you're a little different. Like you were, like I said, you were conservative. You had the whole like. This nigga went to church, like dressed up on Sundays. We used to be like, Tonio, what's up? Like, nah, I'm going to church. Like, we used to like try to pull up on him on Sunday morning, and he was like, nah, I'm going to church. So it was like that. It was just different from all of us. Not saying it was different, but it was different from what we were doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you were just a different kid, but we didn't think of you different. We didn't treat you different. We were just.
I think it's because everybody found out that like it was real, like it wasn't fake.
You're still like, and you were still
so,
cool.
So what would happen is I could say this is a snitching. It's not getting nobody in trouble, but like when everybody used to smoke, even if we were in high, everybody smoking. Like especially like my senior year, because in our senior year is when everybody.
I didn't smoke until my senior year either, though.
But I remember what would happen was that like we'd be in a circle, everybody would be in a circle, and then everybody's just passing it, and then people already knew whoever was right here. Whoever was next to me
skipped it.
Would just reach in front of me. Like they didn't even offer.
And not even
I think that's why I grew to respect them. It's because
it was never forced.
None of them to an extent ever tried to put me in a spot that they knew that I wouldn't be.
That your pops would beat your ass for.
Exactly.
We never wanted to get in trouble. We don't want to get you in trouble. Niggas never wanted to get me in trouble because they know my pops wasn't playing.
Because we were all black, so we knew what black. We were all black, but then we knew even though Derek was Filipino, we knew
he would get in trouble too.
This is when we played NJB and we had some game somewhere far, and I drove with them. Yeah. We lost. It's like an hour. It was like somewhere in Victorville. It was like an hour ride back.
We did always have to go up the hill for the damn game.
They rode him the whole. I was like, my God, just stall my man out. We're in junior high. And the whole way back, they're just on him about how he should have done better, on his neck the whole drive. And I was like, so I know their parents are tough on them too.
So it was just about respecting everybody's like crib. Basic, that's all it was. It was respecting the crib. Because guess what? Antonio's my homeboy. Antonio get caught doing something crazy with me. Guess what? Me and Antonio can't do no more.
Yeah, then we can't come.
We can't chill. We can't
so
go.
They knew that.
So we knew that.
Can't mess up Pop's house.
Yeah, we can't fuck with Pop's house because then guess what? We can't go over there, play hoop, chill with Antonio. And that was across the board with everybody though.
Yeah, I think
that was Ronell. That was with Ronell.
Yeah.
Miss Danielle wasn't playing none of that shit. So guess what? We wasn't getting each other in trouble.
We go to somebody's house. Then the first thing you was doing is you was going to go say what's up to mom.
Yeah.
Say what's up to pops.
Hello.
How you doing? If it was siblings there, brother, sister, or whatever. But my mom was like,
Dre and Aaron was good.
But it was like whenever there was a party, like my mom was the type to drive up with me to the place early.
Yeah.
To go introduce herself to the parents of the household.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like ultra embarrassing for me. But one thing that I remember though is every parent that she did that with, they were always like, wow, I wonder why other parents don't do this. Yeah. They're like, of course, it makes perfect sense that you're sending your kid to my house. You want to make sure that I'm not gonna cook them and eat them or something,
Exactly. No,
so it makes sense. But again, like I said, those different things. I think we all had something that connected. I think the thing that connected us all was all sports. I think for all of us that was
all sports, thing. All video game,
all
and
video,
rap,
and then it was video game, and then it was rap, but then it was TV. But again, it's like seeing even us, where a lot of us were on different spectrums. I think we all still fell somewhere in between the Carlton Will spectrum. Mm-hmm. If you could
Some of us
If that
closer
could
to
be the
Carlton.
line.
Some of us closer to Carlton. Some of us closer to Will. But none of us were like the hood kid. Like it was all we were all
we might have tried it, but it
we were
didn't
all
work.
suburban kids.
didn't work.
Like it wasn't none of that.
It didn't work.
Yeah, it wasn't none of that.
We ain't getting a bunch of fights.
Never. I
We
can't
ain't
fight.
really-
I'm still never been in a
Yeah,
fight.
we ain't really getting the fight. But I think the thing was at our school, I think because whoever would have fought, like we were all cool with each other.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah.
So like the reasons why I probably would have got picked on by other people, I was already cool with it.
It was already deaded by the time you
like,
got to that
who was
point.
gonna pick on me? Because
Nobody. Yeah, there was
the
no
guy that was gonna pick on me, I was already cool with.
Exactly.
Because of for whatever reason there were
connections.
different
We were
connections.
friends from when we were kids. Yeah.
But like that was kind of like experiencing because I was born in Inglewood, so you see that, and then for a couple years I was in Riverside, where it was me, my cousin Brittany, and there was one other black kid.
Shout out to Brittany.
5th grade. There was 3 black kids in the whole school. It was just us 3.
Yeah.
And it was funny. You talk about black people in athletes. We would have like these times where we would race, and we always won. It was me and the black guy. We always won.
See, and
it was always 1 and 2.
And this is something that I never had as a
Dustin.
There was something, and this was something that we talk about just being different spectrum. This is something I never had as a black kid. I was the fast, like athletic black kid. I was like, I could hoop a little bit in front of the house. I didn't make the basketball team in high school.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, yeah, so I was different also. Like, it was like a lot of like, yeah, it was a super mix of kids. Like, yeah, me, Booker, Sean, Jody, Keith Washington.
Yeah.
Like, it was just all of us that were just a mixture. Like, we were all different. It was crazy. It's super crazy that we just.
But basically, it was I guess you could say art. Art was probably the
medium, yeah.
The unifier there,
for sure.
But I mean, I think that all comes from like what I would consider that, maybe people from I know there are people who would tell me like sitcoms from the 80s and the 70s with Trump, but to me, I feel like the sitcoms from the 90s, those are like the golden era for me.
Yeah. Because
then that's when you kind of got to see
a different
spectrum, in a way that
it
hasn't always been.
And at the end of the episode, he says like the fraternity one. He tells the guy, like Top Dog, he tells him, "Hey, what's up, man?"
Yeah, basically he tells them off.
Yo, we're both black, nigga. What's
pretty
up?
much says we're fighting the same. We're fighting the same struggle.
Why are you tripping me
but
up?
Because I'm taking, I'm, we're trying to run the same race, but because I
listen to Barry Manilow. He met Barry White. Yeah, nice. And then they get home and they tell, Philip, and like you said, it comes to him like, damn, I thought I was
helping you
out. I was
out,
doing the right thing, and this turns out, me like doing this got you ousted from that shit. And he said, damn, at the end, bunch of these episodes end poetically. He goes, when are we gonna stop doing this to each other? Credits. Rick Famuyiwa.
It's a great show, man.
Shout out to Rick Famuyiwa. I heard y'all talking about Dope last episode. That's a good movie. I like Dope. I like Dope. Movie. But yeah. No, all of this show is just so. Okay, this is where I find people arguing with Martin and Fresh Prince. They say, "Oh, well, Martin's funnier."
Yeah, they go by the laugh factor.
And I'm like,
and I will admit,
okay,
I'll admit there are moments in Martin
that are funnier,
that I laugh.
The top funny moments
that I laugh at more, like the scene when he thought somebody stole his Walkman.
I don't even remember.
Oh my god! So he has everybody sitting around this table because he can't find. It ended up that bruh man from the fifth floor had borrowed it. But he thought one of his friends took it. Okay. So he's interrogating them. It's like thundering outside. So he has them sitting around the table, and he's got like this black slacks on, a black t-shirt, and this gold chain. But then he's carrying this fake, it's like a stuffed German Shepherd. And like he's making the German Shepherd that's probably the funny
I can see it.
But that's because they let that show is, to me, that show is Martin doing Martin.
Yeah.
And everybody else playing off of him. And that's what I say.
If you want to say it's funnier, I'm talking about the better show.
I think it's the better show.
Better show.
I think it's the better show.
Better
the better written show.
It looks better. Like the fashion is better.
He's got the better, and maybe we got to do one of this just dedicated to the women that he. Like, just think about the people that got put on that on those shows. How many guests that he had?
I thought about like Nia Long she plays two characters in the show
because she's in the first season.
First season on the date with
the episode with Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah plays two different people.
Parts in there too.
But it makes sense because at the time, if you think about where Will is, you know, the rapper still. Yeah. So he's got a bunch of rappers. He's got a certain pool. He's got Quincy Jones is the guy that drug him there. Yep. So he had a certain pool along with NBC. Yeah. And like all of the women that he dates, a lot of the guests that he had the Halloween episode,
which is the
when he lies and talks about what a typical day with him is like, and like Heavy D is there, Albie Shore is there, Bo Jackson shows up.
That's one that I don't. That's one that I don't enjoy.
You don't like that one?
I don't like.
That's one of my favorite ones.
Is that
that's the two-parter?
Is that the Hex? Is that the one with the Hex?
That's not the Hex.
Okay, so the Hex one I don't like. The Halloween one I like. At the end, he's like,
"What about the Hex?"
No, at the end of the Halloween episode where they show the bloopers and Carlton goes, well, "What about when they're showing the bloopers?" He's like, "But what about my trick or treating?"
Oh yeah.
I like the Halloween one.
That's the one where Hillary's throwing a party and they have to find dates. Yes. So they're at the mall and they have the bet on who can find a date.
And it's like a clip show.
Yeah. So they're doing that's one of the first flashback shows.
Yes. Yeah.
Where they're doing some flashbacks, and then Carlton ends up finding the kleptomaniac. Yeah. And then Will finds he has like a Cinderella story with the one girl.
Yeah.
But
no, yeah, we could do that too. We could do the women.
Yeah, dope. First of all, the music was dope.
Definitely.
And then you had the cameos were always dope.
100%. Shout out to Donald Trump.
Donald Trump was on there. When they wanted that was another flashback episode when they wanted to sell the house. Yep. Donald Trump showed up.
Yeah. Don't shout out to Donald Trump. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I said shout out to. I think that's just like the black thing to say when they want to say somebody's name. It's like shout out to them.
The fake Reagan. They didn't have real.
They didn't have. I watched that today too. That was the Christmas episode.
Evander Holyfield was on there.
Yep. Why we always want to fight, y'all? Yeah, that was good.
There was a couple boxers. Remember Evander Holyfield was on there, and was it Riddick Bowe?
Yep.
Riddick Bowe knocks him out.
Yep.
Outside of the casino.
Yep. No, that wasn't the casino. It was when they're playing cards, and when they're going to Vegas.
Yeah.
And they stop, and Carlton.
He gets hooked. And
then Riddick Bowe puts the quarter in and wins. And he goes, hey,
so then Carlton,
he goes to fight him, and he goes, hey, wait.
There's a bunch of great to me, like
the greatest show, bro.
Yeah,
it's not even in competition. There's no competition.
Let's do. I always gotta have a top 5.
Let's do it. What we doing?
So let's since we dedicate this to Fresh Prince.
Okay.
Let's not include Fresh Prince on this.
Okay.
But and I'm not even gonna just limit it to sitcoms.
Mm-hmm.
But your past or present, all the way back to Sanford, as far as you can go to today, Insecure, blah blah blah. What are your top 5? I'll call them black shows that revolve around black people.
That's cool. Number one,
in whatever order. That is
without Fresh Prince, number 1 off top is Insecure. I see myself so much in that show. Like, it's just like that shit is so real. Like yeah, it's number 1 is Insecure. Just seeing Lawrence, like that Coachella episode is just top fucking 1 TV ever, just because I was there with my black sister and my black girlfriend going to see Beyonce, and we were just bugged out like that, like hype, like we weren't on shrooms or nothing, but yeah, we were hype. So Insecure, number 1. Number 2, again, I gotta go with relatability. Family Matters.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people hate it. You love or hate Family Matters.
I like Family Matters.
I love Family Matters. But again, relatability. I mean, considering the fact that my pops really kind of looks like Carl Winslow,
and he's a cop,
and he used to be
a cop. Your dad does look like,
and he used to be a cop.
Like
so it's just every time he's sitting Eddie down, I'm like, fuck, I fucking hate this nigga
because it's the same talk.
Fucking same talk. Same talk. So number 2 off top, Family Matters. Number 3, I got to go with Blackish. Because again, just my dad looks at me sometimes like, what did I do to y'all, bro? Like, I fucked y'all up. Like, y'all aren't like... Because, like, you know, sometimes your pops might look at you like you're so removed from the black experience.
Yeah.
Because of, like you said, we talked about it, where they put you.
Yeah.
So they're just like, what are y'all talking about? But it's like, you made us this way. You did this. So, Blackish.
Don't get scared. Don't back out now.
Yeah.
You did it. So let's own it.
And then even the ish part is very close to my heart because like I'm half black.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody's gonna tell me I'm not black. I have a story real quick from high school. I could tell it after. Let me do my other two. Number 4. You know what? We're gonna go animated. And it's one that I wasn't like super into at the time. I've been watching it recently. But just the commentary on it, it's so good. Boondocks. Mm-hmm. I've recently been watching it, and I'm just not the biggest fan of anime.
Yeah.
So it's a weird watch for me.
Yeah.
But if I can close my eyes and just listen to what they're saying and the story that they're telling, that's good TV.
Yeah.
Number 5, let's go with Chappelle Show. If we're doing that, if you want to do like sketch comedy, or you want me to keep it away from that?
No, that's fine.
I think I just think the way he did it, bringing it into just white people's homes,
it was perfect.
It was exactly what and exactly what we needed at the time, like smack dab in what we thought was the worst. I mean, outside of civil rights, like the civil rights 60s, was smack dab in what we thought at the time was the worst time for like black people, like with racism. Bush smack dab in Bush, in the middle of Bush presidency. He just showed white people like, y'all are fucking nuts. And now I would trade it for him to do it now.
And again,
show them again.
I know he's in a different space, and I appreciate where he is.
Me too.
But I would love to see, not even just like redoing. I would love to see what he would do today.
Yeah.
But the thing, I almost wonder, because I don't know if he would have been able to get away with some of the stuff
he says a lot of that. He says a lot of that.
Some of the stuff he did back then.
And he says a lot of that. And I have a problem. I don't have a problem. They're great, but I've discussed this with just people, even my girlfriend. And just I've discussed it with Greg, Greg, homie Greg, discussed with him just how problematic I thought that those last couple specials have been. It's just like no, I don't really rock with them like that.
And that's it, but that is Dave Chappelle.
Exactly.
And there's a way that's
why he is one of my heroes, like forever.
He's mine when it comes to comedy. He's my number one.
He's my GOAT.
He's the GOAT because his versatility. And I think we got to tip into that with the Chappelle Show. It's just like the way he thought about things. And again, these guys everybody has writers, they have teams. But this is from the mind of Dave Chappelle, and the way that he did that was just incredible. But so I would probably have that honorable mention. Chappelle Show would probably be number 6.
Okay.
If I was going my 5, I'm not going to go in order, but I'm going to say, you know what? I lied. Chappelle Show is going to be in at 5. Insecure is going to be number 6.
Okay.
So I'm going to have Chappelle Show. I'm going to have... I put Martin in my 5.
All right.
I would have Atlanta, even though we only got 2 seasons.
Second season.
I'd have Atlanta.
That show was a little mid to me, but...
It is, but there was some stuff
still
in there.
Still genius.
There was some stuff in there, like the second season hit me more than the first season did, even though
that Teddy Perkins episode was that in the second season.
I'm gonna come back to that. That's the one I want to break down.
You know what? I'm tripping. Second season wasn't.
I'm gonna come back to that.
Second season was just so weird.
It was weird.
Like,
it was weird.
What's the homie's name? The director? No, the director.
The actual
the guy that works with Hero
Murray.
Yeah, he just like him and Donald
Yeah,
just
he's
went
wild.
super
And
crazy.
I think, Donald and his brother.
Yeah, they write.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's in there. So
it's okay. I like it.
So
I like Atlanta. That's as far as I'll go.
Martin Chappelle, Atlanta. Oh my God, I can't put him there. Martin Chappelle, Atlanta. Let me put Insecure in there for right now.
Yeah. I just relate. I just love the author. It's so real. That show is real as fuck. Sorry for cursing, but that shit is real as fuck. That is a real ass show to me.
I think I hate to say it, but I have to go Cosby Show.
That's fine. That's fine.
Because I'm
not a huge fan, but
I'm judging all these.
I like what it did.
This is, no Quaalude, no. I'm
judging. No pill in your drink.
I'm judging this just based off of like relatability and impact.
Yeah, for sure.
And
what it did,
all of those shows for whatever reason like impacted the way I see things, the way I view art, and all that.
For sure.
But like for Atlanta, so we talk about all these different types of characters and the represent. To me, it's just people keep saying it. We keep saying representation, but it's important because it's a reflection. It's a way that all of us to an extent, because we can't be around everybody. So in some senses, we get introduced to people based off of their music or how they're viewed on TV. Yeah. So if you only saw black people as struggling drug dealers, criminals, and all that stuff, then that's what you would think they are. Yeah. But to me, like with some of those 90s sitcoms and then the ones today, is that you are seeing, from my perspective, the more average black person. But there's an episode in season 2, I believe it's called FUBU, where it is Donald as a kid.
Okay.
And remember, he's going through school, and his mom takes him to the thrift store,
like the Marshalls,
and he gets
whatever,
like a Marshall or whatever. Yeah. And I can relate to that because my parents didn't give me all the top gear. Yeah, so
I went to Burlington.
I was used to the jokes about the gear and all that stuff, and how much. And I think now about like how ignorant we were, and how much we put into that stuff. In really, and again. And this is my hetero stance. We were literally coming to school more concerned about what the other guys would think about what we were wearing than what the women would think. Like we were thinking, I don't want the guys to joke. I wasn't thinking, dang, let me put this on so that the ladies could see. I was thinking, let me not put this on so they won't make fun of me.
Exactly, for sure.
So his mom gives him like he finds like a fake FUBU shirt, and he thinks, wow, this is gonna make me popular. And then they find out that it's fake. Mm-hmm. So then I think he like takes it off or something. But then I don't know if he says that another kid did it. Another kid bought it or something like that. So they start joking. They start railing on that kid. Yeah. And they find out the next day that kid killed himself.
I know. Yeah, I remember that episode.
And I was like, I was never like, I wasn't dealing with depression and ready to get, but I know what that felt like. To have to deal with that, and I can only imagine if you already had a bunch of other stuff that was on you.
DQ was joking on me the other day about some fashion shit,
and
so
it was like,
still happens. Don't worry about it.
I think for us, we got to a point where we kind of knew where we could go with us, so nobody ever went past there.
It wasn't. It was always jokes. It was always jokes. And like you said, like we said earlier, I wasn't finna not hang out with you because you.
But that episode hit me like it was one of the ones where like even now when I rewatch it, I skip that one. Like I don't like to watch that episode because it hits too close and it's like it just goes to like different, But again, it's just telling like the unique stories. Yeah. Again, I think like you look at all the sitcoms that we talked about. Fresh Prince, a kid who moves from Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. His mom sends him there to get out of trouble. And he moves in with his rich black family in Bel Air. That's an original show. You have a guy who works at a hotel, and it details the relationships and happenings of the people who work at a workplace.
A workplace, yes.
In Jamie Foxx, you have a disc jockey who's dating a girl in Detroit, and they're just trying to find it and get together. You know, so you see in all these shows, and these are all.
We have a college, a black college,
and you know, so all these shows are like unique, and because you know, like movies nowadays, everybody's just remaking everything. Yeah, which is why I really appreciate what like Issa and Donald and people are doing now, where it's like, let's get back to telling.
Even though Issa remade like a Freaky Friday,
but
it was good. It was good.
Well, it's fine. Again, I have no problem with redoing old motifs or
tropes,
taking from style, because all of us are influenced by people. So you know, I get it. You know.
Yeah, no.
But I like that we're to this point where you're seeing guys that are.
It's just black people in a movie. It's not
and they're regular black. And
it's not a black. And it's not like I said. Like y'all were talking about a black movie. Us isn't a black movie. Us has black people in it.
Black Panthers.
Anybody could have been in Us, and it would have been the same movie.
You could have flipped it to where the white family was the main family,
or it was just two white families. Like
it still works.
Yeah.
But
it was just black people in the movie.
Hey guys, we could do those roles too if you just give us like just stop trying to. And this is another thing, and this is film, and it's TV, and it's music,
it's rap, it's podcasting, it's everything.
This is what happens when you have the gatekeepers. And I'm going to talk about gatekeepers a lot on this episode.
Hey, let's bring it up every episode.
I'm going to talk about gatekeepers a lot.
I heard you and Mike Sessions talking about that, man. Let's talk about it.
Who are the people who say okay to this? Even though with Fresh Prince, you know, you look at the and I noticed this. A friend of mine pointed me out. And I look at the credits, and it's a bunch of Auskies and if it's sketches and all these Jewish, so you knew that's what was happening, but you could tell
you have to look at the name Quincy Jones and that motherfucker in the later seasons. Will Smith, executive producer.
You could tell that motherfucker. You could tell that they were that this was not a white guy telling this story.
No,
you know, it felt at least it felt authentic.
Family
Matters felt authentic.
Yes.
Jamie Foxx felt like none of those guys felt like they were faking. Like this won't work. This isn't real to me.
People telling a black story.
But that's what it's always been. And it's funny. I just saw a clip the other day. It was like Denzel. They were doing the press run for Fences, and someone was talking about the fact that I guess Denzel was saying that the director had to be black. And they were like, "Why does the director have to be black?" And he was like, "It's not so much about race; it's about culture." And he was like, "Because you know, Spielberg did Schindler's List, and he said Scorsese did Goodfellas, and it's not that Scorsese couldn't have done Schindler's List, and it's not that Spielberg couldn't have done Goodfellas, but Scorsese is an Italian guy from
the Bronx,
from New York." Yeah. So who else is better equipped to tell a story about mobs in New York? Yeah. Steven Spielberg is he's an American-born Jewish director, but
grandparents were in the Holocaust.
So who else can tell? So it's not even so much that they can't, but and he mentioned he said something because I believe that the person who asked the question was black. I can't tell, but based off of his response, I think she was. He was like, because you and me and this person knows what the smell is when a hot comb hits black hair. Yeah. And some people you won't know what that means, but to me, like right now, I could smell that. Mm-hmm. I could hear it. And then you could see the hot comb on the stove sitting on the paper towel. Like I could see that. So it's like when you have people who have experienced a thing and they're the ones telling that story, it just comes off as more real. So it's like, and to me, when you look at like Atlanta and you look at Insecure, and I'll take those for example, it just looks like this is Issa Rae telling a story about her life, and it looks like that's Donald Glover telling a story about his life. None of that feels like it's a lie, even though Donald teeters more with the sci-fi. Yeah. You know, you have the episode with the invisible car,
exactly,
and then the black and Bieber as a black guy. Yeah. So he plays a little bit more on that, but.
Yeah, with Issa,
that show is authentic. Yeah. It feels real. Yeah. And with Issa, that feels real. All those characters feel 100% believable.
You know them, bro. You right here in West LA. Like, there's 10,000 East is
right
outside.
The restaurant that they shoot at is in Little Ethiopia.
Yeah,
that's right up the street.
I know. I used to deliver right up there.
So it's like, so to me, again, I'm hoping that this means a resurgence. What I'm liking is that I think one of the things that's happening is because of like the influx of all these new studios and the streaming wars now.
Yeah,
is now you're having people who are looking to populate their site with content
with people of color.
So now they're trying to find those people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why if you go to Netflix, like 90% of that stuff is stuff that I don't ever want to see, but that's fine.
But
you're going to give me a couple.
One thing I got to give you, Netflix is giving Aziz Ansari. That's that I could see, he's a person of color. That show, which was also a real show. Like, it's a real authentic look into him being an Indian American growing up. He grew up in South Carolina and moved to New York City. Like, it was just, that's wild.
But that's wild from a TV standpoint, because on TV
it's way more normal.
We see five different types of people, but there are more types of people.
It's way more normal than probably needs to be.
It's funny because we live in a country where
it's way more normal than we probably know it is.
Well, yeah,
because
we live in a country where all we do is celebrate the fact that this is a place that everybody wants to come to, and it's such a melting pot.
But
but we don't have a melting pot of representation of art.
Yeah.
We see like one or two types of people, but it's like everybody is not like this. There are so many different, even in a place where you would think everybody's like this, everybody is not that. Yeah. You could talk about Inglewood, Compton, Watts, or whatever. There's different type of people who live there.
You got the name of Kendrick's album. It's Good Kid, Mad City. It's probably a kid that I probably would have done some different things had I not been here. Had I not grown up here?
Well, that's a big part of it. Is all of us we're kind of like products of our environment, 100%. And who knows what we would have been if we were here or there.
Yeah.
But we all have different stories, and there are all these connecting lines. So I definitely want to do that, because it's just amazing with like you're seeing what podcasting is becoming, and I think there's like an amazing thing that we're getting tapped into.
Oh yeah, it's happening, brother.
It's
all happening.
It's kind of like this peeling back of layers that we don't get to get, and
stories.
Like yeah. Like I was watching Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson.
Yes,
and he had what's his name on there? The Let's Get Ready to Rumble. Oh, God, I can't think of his name.
Oh, Michael Buffer.
Yeah, Michael Buffer. Yeah, and they're just telling stories.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And it's like stories that I would have never heard if Mike Tyson doesn't sit here and say, "Remember this?"
And just
snap, and he
and
just
like you
talk.
And just like you said with Issa and Donald Glover, it's normalized stories. It's normal black stories. When I started my podcast with The Mission, shout out to Greg, shout out to Jacob, we just wanted to say, hey, like, there is a different like opinion on rap.
Yeah.
Like I don't enjoy Childish Gambino's music. Like you think like people probably think every black people does.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. That shit is trash.
I don't hate it.
It's trash.
It's
though.
not my favorite.
I just wanted to highlight some shit that I like that people probably don't think people like if you listen to a normal podcast. I wanted to tell a story. I wanted to tell.
But I'll take that from you because I do know that you still respect him as an artist.
100%. I respect him. I respect him as an artist. I love what he does visually.
I think both of us think he's a genius. Like he's a genius.
What Donald Glover gets, guess who I want to get? Tyler the Creator. Y'all need to be talking about Tyler the Creator the way y'all talk about Donald, because Childish Gambino can't stand in the same room with Tyler the Creator on anything. TV show, you can add his TV show, everything that Tyler's done in video and film. Y'all need to, so that's the story I wanted to tell, and that's how we can relate it back to just the storytelling. Let's tell a different story. I don't like Pac. I don't like Tupac. Let's tell that story.
Yeah.
Tupac isn't that hard. Let's tell that story. There's a bunch of differing opinions that we could tell, and it is beautiful because we can get this right here, and set up and be like, let's talk about it. What's up? And it's great. It's great. And I love it. And I think that's where Joe started, where he was like, you know what? I have a unique experience in this fucking godforsaken industry that needs to be heard. And that's what it started off as. And it's ballooned into just Hip Hop CNN. It is the only weekly hip hop news where you can go, it's first take for hip hop. It's the only one, too.
And that, honestly, and I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. If that's
the
route
we need
you
more.
want to go,
We need
exactly.
more.
And that's where,
because we need a different opinion.
But that's why, and again, while it's at its infant phase.
Yes,
and
it really is.
I'm hoping that while it's at its infant phase, we get to dip our hands
and we get to set up our own infrastructure
and set it up from that way
for
to
ourselves.
Where you're giving people who have something to say. I mean, because there's so many different types of podcasts with different content. Some of it may get a bunch of views. Some of it may not be as wide, and that's fine because sometimes there are more. Like there's podcasts that I watch or listen to that are just like there's one I listen to, and I recommend it to anybody who likes movies. It's called The Rewatchables. Yeah. And it's on The Ringer. Bill Simmons is on it sometimes. Yeah. And all they do,
shout out to The Ringer podcast. But I'm
saying all they do is they just talk about like movies that have high rewatch values. Yeah. And that's it. That's the whole podcast.
There is there's a network. It's called RNC. Yeah. And you've probably heard of them. But it's just black takes on, guess what? They have a wrestling podcast. They have a movie podcast. They have an anime podcast. They have They have a Pokemon podcast. A black take on Pokemon. Isn't that goddamn beautiful?
And right now you're looking at a person who used to collect Pokemon cards.
And you're looking at a person who still watches wrestling.
I collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
You even set up a podcast with someone you knew from college and me, short-lived. Shout out to Enhancement Talent Radio. Hopefully someday we can get it back with your homie JR.
Oh yeah, John Ross.
Yes.
Shout out to John Ross.
Shout out to John Ross. Love that guy. It was my fault that it didn't work. It's just logistics and timing.
I know a lot of black people who like wrestling.
Exactly. And it's like you would never hear that story.
When I first joined the group, we were at the time the Generation X was the thing.
Yes.
And everybody had already picked all of their people. So everybody had already had the cool people. Yep. So they made me Val Venus. So I was super hello ladies in there. But the funny thing is when we first met, I was more WCW than WWE.
See, and that's weird.
So I knew more of Ric Flair and NW, side, and so I was more there with Nitro. Mm-hmm. But that was crazy when I think they were talking about how those two would be on like Monday Night Raw and Nitro were on at the same time, and they were both pulling 10s. Yep. So if you're talking about of 100,000 people, 20% of the country was watching wrestling.
100%.
It was big.
No, but I love that, and I love that for RNC, and I want to, I want to set it up with myself. I want to set it up to where yes, we could tell those stories too, because my black take on wrestling ain't the same as somebody else's black take on wrestling, or on music, on anything like that. Like, so it's just yes, I love this. Let's set up these little pods of just set up this infrastructure of just stories that we can tell, and they are mini movies, bro.
Pretty much.
We could talk for 2 hours. Someone listen to something for 2 hours. That's a movie. It's great. So I love what Joe's doing. I don't want him to be remembered in podcasting the way he is in music.
But I think he might.
Exactly, and that bothers me.
I think he's gonna be in a way.
I think he'll quit this shit before he does something.
Yeah,
that
I mean, I think with today's culture, it'll be harder. But I think he'll be like what Kaepernick was.
Yeah,
like he's gonna end up being the guy that gets the brunt of a thing that now everybody's doing now. Yeah. and it's like just, now it's okay.
It's what's up. Yeah,
now
that's cool.
Now all the NFL teams had black boxes on Instagram, but just 2 years ago you wouldn't. And again, so we can get into
like I said,
but he might be that guy. But
I don't want it to be like that.
I
bothers me. It bothers me that he's remembered that way in music.
But just being an up and coming artist. Yeah. I'm hoping that there are those doors, not even doors, those buildings being created. Yeah. Where it's like, hey, come over here where we've got investors over here, we have budgets over here, we've got sound stages over here. We can shoot our own stuff.
That's what I'm saying, brother.
If you got it, we could shoot our stuff here, which is what's so dope about what Tyler Perry has. Like, yo, I got studios, I got a bunch of them. Which one you need? You need this soundstage? Bet. Yeah. I think Monica and Brandy, when they had their verses, they did it at his studio.
Yeah, I think
so. It's like, to me, it's that flex.
2 Chainz and Rick Ross did the
like
same
being
thing.
able to have this space where you can allow
everybody people
to create. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't know, that's where I'm hoping that
everything's headed. Yeah,
that's where, again, that's what I've said this before on here. That's one thing I'm gonna talk about a whole lot. I'm always gonna talk about gatekeepers. I'm always gonna talk about
let's kick they shit in.
I don't think I mentioned it in the last podcast. I'm a get into it more, but there was like this study that said, like, for like a 10-year period on IMDb of the top 1,000 what do you call them, critics. Mm-hmm. Like 92% of them were white, and of the 92% that were white, 84% of them were male. So most of the people telling us whether or not a movie is great or terrible are white men. And believe it or not, that has an effect, because now a studio is going to be hesitant to say yes to a project if it doesn't get good reviews. So
from a white guy.
So it's all a circle. So it's a certain group of people green lighting. It's a certain group of people giving the money. It's a certain group of people saying, yes, this is good or not. And then that all just rotates. Mm-hmm. Because even if black people love something, we only make up a certain percentage of the population, and we're not the ones that can drive movies up there, which is what was so dope about Black Panther.
I mean, everybody saw that bitch.
Is that everybody went, and then that's what's, which is why I'm rooting for everything Jordan Peele put out. Yeah. I'm rooting for it. Everything that Ava DuVernay put out, I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for it. I hope everybody go. I hope it makes. I hope they all make $1 billion.
Sue me. I'm rooting for everybody that's black.
And I mean, it's not even that. I mean, again, and if you were to tell me my top 5 directors, I only have 1 black director up there. So it's not that I don't like non-black directors. Yeah. It's just I want
to be able to do it if I want.
I want people to give Spike the same energy that they give Tarantino. Yeah. And I'm not saying that Spike's as good as Tarantino. But what I'm saying is we celebrate Tarantino's uniqueness. Let's celebrate Spike's uniqueness, because in a world where everybody's making remakes, everybody's doing sequels, and they're biting, you have Spike that's done nothing but original stories. Yeah. Some of them miss, but they're here. Listen, I'd rather you swing for the fence. I'd rather you strike out trying to hit a homer than just doing your little safe bunts to get on base. Exactly. And I'm not hating you getting the bunt to get on base, because sometimes
you have to.
Sometimes you
because that's the way they made us get on base.
Sometimes you gotta do.
That's the way. They never let us say, "Hey, fucking create, bro." They say,
so I'm okay with that.
If you could do this, we'll let you have this,
and that's fine. I'm okay with that.
So I mean, some people just have to take this sometimes, but yeah, we have to make it to where they're saying, "Hey, tell your story, go ahead," and hopefully, with change, we saw everybody promising to change and give opportunity. We'll see who the fuck steps up.
Or maybe we don't wait for anybody else to step up.
I don't give a fuck. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. We don't have to wait to see who steps up. Let's kick that shit in. I'm with it. What's up? What we doing? We gonna kick it in? My man.
I'm with it.
Let's go.
I'm with it. I mean, I'd like to sit at your table, but if you won't let me sit there, then I
don't mind
building my own table.
Exactly.
And then invite all the people who you didn't let eat there to come sit over here. And to me, that's just the biggest thing. It's like
you having a barbecue right across the street from your shit.
Because it's the way that the film industry works. It's like music is a little bit different. Like even though it is collaborative, I can technically, I can tonight when this is over. I can record an entire album. I can do the best I can to mix and master it, and I could throw it up on all of the platforms, and boom, I'm done. But when it comes to movies, it's so hard to do that without a collaborative effort.
Without
and
some
if you're
type
not
of
and if you're not
backing
getting any backing from people, it's hard for you to ever have a story of yours get told. And sometimes we got to go to Issa route where I just have this thing and I throw it up on YouTube and it gets love,
so
and
much
then
traction, and
people love it. Or maybe it goes the Donald route where I already have a little bit of clout because of something else I did, and I use that platform to jump over here. You know, everybody's path is going to be different.
Yeah, definitely.
But
here's the opportunity.
Here's the creating.
For sure.
I just want to get in on that wave, and I want to see other people get in on that wave of
I'm with it too.
Even if I hate what it is you did,
I'm rooting for everybody.
I'm rooting for your ability to be able to make it.
Because if you can make it, then you could. Yeah.
Because I'd be a hypocrite if I don't fight for you to do your thing, and I want you to do it for me.
Exactly.
That's not,
I'm rooting for everybody black, bro. So
tell everybody what you got going on.
Right now, just Young Sound System. Follow Young Sound System on Instagram. It's a DJ collective. We're not even a DJ collective. We're just really an art collective. We do it all. We do just a lot of graphic design, a lot of music projects, a lot of DJing, a lot of just visual stuff. We're dabbling into film soon. We want to do a short, but it's hard. We don't want to have original music in it. So it's really hard to shoot it and put it up now, in the age of where you have to license stuff out and get stuff cleared. But I don't know. It's Young Sound System. We're just a creative collective, family owned black business. And yeah, that's what we're on right now. Couple podcasts coming soon. I don't want to announce them yet, but couple podcasts coming soon. And yeah, Young Sound System on Instagram. Go follow it. My man.
He's been Byron. I've been Antonio. I'm out.
Now visualize the whole pie. We done had some lows, so